And welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about efforts at the state capitol to initiate and expand early childhood education. My guest this segment is Assemblyman Rob Bonta of Oakland. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
This is a little before your time, but back in the 1970s when Wilson Riles was the superintendent of public instruction, he was a major proponent of early childhood education. We're still talking about it now, decades later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the President of the United States is talking about it. He talked about it in 2 State of the Union addresses consecutively this year and last year. It's a top priority for a lot of legislators in the state, including me. We just, in my view, haven't done enough to invest in early childhood education, and this is a year where there's a number of exciting bills. There's the Kindergarten Readiness Act being authored by Senate Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg that I'm a co-author of, which would create transitional kindergarten for every 4-year-old in California. And there's another bill being authored by Joan Buchanan that would make kindergarten for all 5-year-olds mandatory, and absolutely critical to get an early start and a head start in education. We all know that by 3rd grade, how you do there determines your graduation potential, your job readiness, and so if you can read by 3rd grade, you're 4 times more likely to graduate from high school. So it's absolutely critical that we prepare our kids early, and it has long-term positive fiscal impacts. We can save, estimates show, $1.1 billion in prison costs by investing in early childhood education. So it's an investment. It's not inexpensive, but it's critically important, and I'm glad we are talking about it today.
Well, let's talk about a couple of those components that you just mentioned. One, mandatory kindergarten. Are there a lot of parents in California that are not sending their kids to kindergarten right now?
I wouldn't say a lot, but it's not insignificant. So many people, when you talk to the average person on the street, thinks that a kindergarten is mandatory. That, in my view, that's a good thing. But it's not. It is optional, and you don't have to go if you choose not to. We're trying to promote a continuum of education, which starts for the early years before kindergarten. If we then have a kindergarten grade level where it's not mandatory and kids opt out, it ruins and disrupts that continuum of early childhood education.
Now let's talk about the other bill you mentioned, which is a transitional kindergarten, which you're involved with. That would cost $1 billion over 5 years, and it's not included in the governor's budget.
Right.
And so, despite the merits of that legislation, don't you have to work on the governor?
We do, absolutely. So didn't say it was going to be easy, and I didn't think that everybody is already in agreement. It's not in the governor's budget, so that's a challenge. We have to overcome that. I think some of the governor's projections on what our surplus is are conservative. So we're going to have more money available than he's projected. So there could be some money there, but it is a significant investment. So we're going to have to get everybody on the same page and say, of all the important priorities that are being introduced this year, early childhood is one of them, and it has such critical impact on equity in our community. On addressing the achievement gap. Low-income learners who are less than 5 years old are exposed to 30 million words less than their affluent counterparts. So it's just so important to provide those early childhood education opportunities.
In that regard, I know you're working on legislation that would make it easier for low-income kids to go to preschool by reducing some of the fees in state-subsidized schools.
That's right. So AB 1902 would remove the fee that currently exists and was recently implemented for part-day state-subsidized child care. Because of the fee being introduced, students that were already enrolled, young people that were already enrolled, had to disenroll, and some families, because of the fee was a barrier, never even enrolled in the first place. So I think it will help encourage participation from our lower income families in California.
All right, well, a fascinating subject, very interesting and important subject, and we're certainly going to watch the progress in the months ahead. Assemblyman Bonta, thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you, happy to be here.
And thanks to our viewers also for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government On Demand. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.